On the west side of our house, the sun is relentless in the summer. Not too long after we moved in, I planted 3 grape plants and built a tall grape trellis along that side of the house. And the idea was to have the grapes make a big green shade wall in the summer on that side of the house. So it would sort of keep the house protected from the sun during the summer. So now we have this huge grape trellis along that side of the house. I get asked a lot if I make wine, and what I make are raisins or dried grapes. So I go out and pick them. I found this year that most of the good ones were up really high, and there wasn't a whole lot down at the lower levels. So it makes it a little bit of a pain because you have to kind of very precariously put the ladder up and pick the grapes. I kind of wish now that I had built the trellis a little bit further from the house and built sort of a catwalk in between the house and the trellis. So I sort of climb around in the grapes and pick what I need for that night's drying session. So these are sort of table grapes. They're mostly seedless. There's a little bit of a seed in them, but they taste really good. A super quick shout out to my Maker's Mob design series, starting on September 26th. I'll put a link down below. Check it out. So the first thing to do in drying them is to pick them off of the bunches and get them separated. This is a little bit time consuming, but not too bad. I sometimes get the kids to help with this, as it's a good job for them. It's both separating the grapes, but also cleaning all of the crud, all the bug parts and spider webs and bits of sticks and leaves and all of that out of the bunches. And I lay the grapes out on the drying tray. So I've tried in the past, I think a few years ago, I did some experiments where I tried drying them just as the full grape, and that took quite a while. That took several days in the dehydrator, and they didn't really taste all that great. So another thing that I tried was to blanch them at this point, and that's putting them in boiling water for a few seconds. And that breaks the skin and allows them to dry a little bit faster, but they still don't really taste that great. They taste like commercial raisins at that point. I think that's probably how they make commercial raisins, is they blanch them, then dry them. But what I've found works really well is to cut each grape in half and lay them out flat on the tray. And I do this sometimes when we're watching TV, because it's a nice thing to do and kind of sit with the TV on and just cut grapes. So I found I cut them almost all the way through, then lay them out in little pairs. If you cut them all the way in half and separate them, you end up with 2 hemispheres that kind of roll around and are hard to lay out. So when you cut them in pairs, they sort of have a little outrigger and they lay flat a little better. So it'll take me 2 hours or so to do all 8 trays. And this will take about 18 hours to dry. But I think the flavor comes out much better when they dry a little quicker like this. It's worth the time to cut each grape in half. It's more like I'm making dried grapes, not raisins. And I'm finally on the last tray here. I think the TV shows are over at this point. So I put the dehydrator out on the back porch as it runs all night, and it makes a little bit of noise, so it's kind of nice to just have it outside. And in the summer, it's dry enough that it works pretty well on the back porch. So in the morning, they're usually not quite ready. That's after, 10 to 12 hours or so. So I put them in for a little bit longer, maybe another 4 to 6 hours, and then they're perfect. And they're like little pieces of candy. They taste really good. They don't have that sort of flat, slightly fermented taste of commercial raisins. The flavor is very bright and sweet, and they're really good in anything that raisins are good in. I will oftentimes just eat them out of a bowl. It's like having a little candy snack. So once they're cooled, I can just scrape them off the trays. I store them in the freezer. You don't really have to, but if I freeze them, then they'll pretty much last forever. I've had them for over a year, and they still taste perfectly fresh, like they're right off the tray. Thanks for watching.